Oh, man. Hey, hello. Uh, so we're now on plane areas in rectangular coordinates. So this is the first application of integration in finding the areas bounded by curves. Okay, so I've discussed definite integral or a portion of the definite integral under the topic of Wallis formula. Okay, so the idea behind that one. So indefinite integral, so we'll be able to actually get the area, okay, so bounded by certain curve or by a certain curve. Okay, so in this case, so let's say we are given a function of f of x. Okay, so f of x, and then we want to determine the area bounded by that curve. So this yellow one, so which is bounded from A to B, so which would serves as our boundary. So A is the lower limit and B is the upper limit. So we can find that area so using the principle of definite integral. So in integral calculus, so for us to approximate the area, okay, so bounded by certain curves, so we are using a strip. Okay? So we're using strips. So strip is it's a small representation of the area. Okay? So a small representation of an area, or this is what we are referring as the rectangular strip. Okay? So rectangular strip has a certain dimension. So in this case, so there are multiple strips that were considered here. So, but say I'm just going to consider one rectangular strip. Okay, so the green one. So the rectangular strip, so similar with a certain rectangle, so it says, or it has a certain base and a height. Okay, so the base so corresponds to the differential. So in this case, the differential dx, and then the height so corresponds to the function. So in this case, that is the function of f of x. In approximating the area, so we can consider a rectangular strip. However, if I'm going to have more strip, okay, so to cover the entire area, so I need more number of rectangular strips. In this case, so there are 14 strips that were considered. But then, uh, using 14 strips only, so there are some discrepancy or there are some errors that can be introduced. So what are those errors? So this one, ito mga area na, ito mga yellow na to, the one that you cannot, or the area that was not covered by the rectangular strip. So those are considered as errors. So that one results, so because the strip that we're using, okay, so the strip that we're using is of uh, a wider, okay, so a width. Okay? So in correcting, okay, so in if we want to make a more accurate representation of the area, so it's either I'm going to increase the number of strips. Right? So let's say from 14, I'll make it 100. So making the number of strips higher, so therefore what happens to this dx? So siyempre, liliit yan. Yeah. So palit ng palit yung dx, then parami ng parami yung number of strips. So until such time that when dx becomes 0, okay, so meaning the width becomes 0, the number of strips becomes infinite. Yeah? So if dx approaches to 0, and then the number of strips increases until it goes to an infinity or an infinite number of strips, then that could well represent the entire area, okay, so bounded by the curve. And that is how we represent the area. Okay, so if we let, okay, so the rectangular or the width of the rectangular strip or the dx approaches to 0, then this would generate an infinite number of rectangles, and thus the area can be covered, or the entire area bounded by the curve can be covered by those infinite number of strips. Thus, our representation will be more accurate. Okay. So now, so how do we compute the area? So how do we find the area bounded by curves? So by just using a single strip, so could represent, okay, so could represent the entire area. So just as I've mentioned, so let's say I'm going to consider this strip. So it has a dimension, so it has the base and the height. So the base would correspond to dx. So dx, that would be the base of the rectangular strip. And then the height, okay, so the height would correspond to the function. So in this case, that is f of x. So how do we find the area of a rectangle? That is base times height. So the base there is dx, so this is our base, and then our height will be the f of x. Okay, but then a single strip, so will not be able to represent the entire area of the area bounded by the curves, but rather, so we should consider the multiple number of strips. So that is why I need to consider, so what would be my boundary then? So in this case, the boundary is from A to B. And thus, it would get the area bounded by the curve, okay, the f of x, or the function f of x to that of the area from A to B. And thus, we have this lower boundary A and the upper boundary B. So that is on how to get the area bounded by the curve. Okay, so in principle, that's it. Okay, so f of x times dx, that is the area of the rectangular strip, and then the boundary from A to B. So that would be the limit. So where we are considering the area. Kumbaga, kinukuha lang natin yung area from A to B. Let's say this is from 1 to 5. Sabi sabihin, that's just the area. So when x is 1, up to when x is 5. So that is how to get the area under the curve. So to show our appreciation, okay, so with regards to this formula, so most probably, so let me consider this given function. So this is f of x is equals to x. Or simply put, this is the same as y is equals to x. So that is a line wherein y is equals to x. So anong ibig sabihin ng line na yon? Ibig sabihin nun, whatever is the value of dx, so that will correspond to the value of y. So when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 2. When x is 3, y is 3. So that's the graph of the line y is equals to x. So now let's say, for example, I'm going to consider the area here. Okay, so let's say this one. I'm going to consider this area. So this area is in geometric figure. So this is a rectangle, or this is a triangle, right? So this is a triangle. Okay, so let's say this would be the area that I am going to consider. So in geometry, so sabi natin, we have the formula for the triangle, di ba? So which is 1/2 times base times height. So 1/2 times base times height. And then, so to determine ano yung base natin. Our base is this, di ba? So that is from 1, 2, 3. That's the length of the base. The length of the height, that is 1, 2, 3. So the height is 3 as well. So now I can get the area of this triangle. So using this formula, that's 1/2 times 3 for the base times 3 for the height. That will be 9/2 square units. So that is the area using geometry, okay, a formula that was derived already. However, we can do this as well so using integral calculus. So in integral calculus, so I can represent, so let's say I'm going to draw a single strip here. And then so for the single strip, so this is dx. Okay, so the width is dx. And then the height, okay, so saan ba siya nakatama? Okay, so nakatama siya dito sa f of x. Okay, so that would be the height, which is f of x. So therefore, in finding the area of this triangle, so using our formula before, that is from A to B, f of x dx. So the question now, what is f of x? So f of x is this. F of x is equals to x. I'm going to change the f of x to be x, so because that's the function. Y is equals to x. And then the differential dx. And then for the dx is, so what would be the width? So this is the width from 0 to 3. From 0 to 3. So therefore our boundary then so would be from 0 to 3. So now we're going to evaluate the definite integral. So integral of x will be x squared all over 2. And then we evaluate it from 0 to 3. And this is the same as so 3 squared all over 2 minus 0 squared all over 2. So the upper boundary, so minus the lower boundary. So 3 squared all over 2, then minus 0 squared all over 2. So we just substitute the upper boundary, the upper limit, minus the lower limit. So this one becomes 0, and thus, so 3 squared, that will be 9 all over 2 square units. As you can see here, we have the same answer. So one uses the principle of integral calculus, the other one, so using the derived formula used in plane geometry. In reality, actually, all the formula the ready formula that we have in geometry, so we're just derived using the principles of calculus. So in integral calculus kasi, so whether the shape is a regular shape or an irregular shape, okay, so we will be able to get its area. Okay, so we can always get its area as long as we know what's the function. So regardless, whatever would be the shape, so bounded by those functions, and then we'll be able to get its area. Okay, so this is just an appreciation. Okay, those are the same thing. Okay. So now we'll be covering the idea on how to find the area bounded by curves. So the first thing that we need to consider here is the vertical and the horizontal slicing. So vertical and horizontal slicing. So when I say vertical and horizontal slicing, so we are the one to decide so whether we're going to use a vertical strip or a horizontal strip. So that would represent the entire area. So whether we're going to use a horizontal strip or a vertical strip. So these are the three things that could possibly happen. So we can use sometimes a vertical strip is okay. Pwede yung vertical strip, but we cannot use horizontal. There are certain problems or there are certain bounded curves. So we're in our bounded area, wherein horizontal strip is feasible, but not vertical. So in this case, for example, for this vertical slicing, pwede lang dito is vertical strip. Hindi pwede ang horizontal dyan. Dito naman sa pangalawa, pwede lang is yung horizontal, pero hindi pwede ang vertical. Pero there are certain instances that both will be possible. So we can use vertical strip or horizontal strip. So in those cases, you are the one to choose. So which one you are going to use, whether that is vertical or horizontal. But the question now is, sir, when am I going to use a vertical strip? When am I going to use a horizontal strip? So vertical strip is used, okay? So we have to take note of the endpoints of the strip. So what are those endpoints? This one. These are the endpoints. So these are the endpoints. This would be the endpoint. So when I say the endpoint of the strip, you have to take a look at those endpoints. So what function it touches. Okay. So ito kasi, so we have one curve, this one, the f of x curve, so which is blue. And then the red one is the g of x curve. Okay. So this is g of x and the other one is the f of x. So the blue and the red one. So when I say vertical strip, so that means there should be no time. So we can use vertical strip when there should be no time that the endpoints touches the same curve. So dapat walang time daw na yung strip mo nagtatouch siya ng parehas na curve. In this case, it's not. Okay? So look at this. So this is blue. Yung sa baba, this is red. So it never touches the same. It never touches the same graph. Okay? Kasi this strip is actually moving. So you can move it. You can write it anywhere. As long as, let's say, I can write it here. Okay? I can have a vertical strip here. I can even have a vertical strip here. I can have it here. I can have it here. So this is a moving strip. So, but regardless, if it is moving, so let's say, for example, it's here. This is blue, red. This is blue, this is 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 red. So there's no time. Okay? So there's no time that it touches the same graph. So ang hindi pwede is this one. Ang hindi pwede, this. Horizontal. Kahit hindi pwede yung horizontal. The end point, this one is red. The other point is red as well. It touches the same graph. So in cases like that, so we cannot use that strip. Okay? So hindi pwede mag-touch siya ng dalawang mag-touch siya ng the same graph. So ganun din dito, no? So possible ang horizontal. So kahit saan mo ilagay yan, so hindi yan nagtatouch ng blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. Pero pag ginawa mo yung vertical, so pag ginawa yung vertical dito, yan. So red, red. So hindi siya pwede, no? So hindi pwede yung vertical doon. Is that clear? So that is on how to decide. So whether you're going to use a vertical strip or a horizontal strip. Pero there are cases that horizontal and vertical is possible. Like for example, I'm not going to, let's say yung dalawang parabola. I don't know. Yan. So, eto, pwede yung vertical, pwede yung horizontal. Kaya kung mag-vertical ka, vertical, vertical, vertical. So, hindi parehas yung graph nila. Kung horizontal ka, ganun din. Hindi rin parehas yung graph nila. So, in cases like that, so pwede. Okay? So, whether it is horizontal or it is vertical. Okay? So now, so let's find the area under the curve. So these are the 3 steps. So the first one is we have to graph it first. Second is we need to decide what will be the strip that we're going to use. And lastly, so we're going to compute using definite integral. So graph, strip, compute. Okay, so I'll just skip this one. So supposedly I can show you a simulation, no? But anyway, I already discussed it. So now, so how do we compute? So this is the formula. So in computing, remember, our formula would be, so this would be our base, and then this would be our height. So in computing for the base and the height, so in computing for the base and the height, base would be the differential, and then the height would be the difference in two functions. So if it is a vertical strip, so our height would be the y upper minus y lower. Okay, so y upper minus the y lower. So in this case, so what would be our y upper? So this is the y upper. Ibig sabihin, that is the graph that touches, or the strip, okay, so that touches the blue function. So in this case, this is the y upper. Y is equals to f of x. Okay, so that is y upper. And the y lower is this one. So y lower. So y lower is the red one. So y is equals to g of x. So that is the y lower. Our formula is y upper minus y lower times dx. And then again, so in determining the boundary or the limits, so we have to take a look at the differential. So if it is dx, ibig sabihin ang limit natin is along the x-axis. So kung dx ito, ang limit natin is ito, along the x-axis. So kung saan nag-start yung area natin at kung saan siya mag-i-end. So mag-start siya sa A, mag-i-end siya sa B. So therefore, that is from A to B. So our y upper is f of x, so our y lower is g of x. Okay. So that's on how to find or use the formula. No? The next is if it is a horizontal strip. So for horizontal strip, so it should be x right minus x left. So that means that is the right function minus the left function. In this case, the right function, so right function is the x is equals to f of y. Ang left function natin, that is xl, so ito naman siya, x equals to g of y, f of y, g of y. And then our limits then, so ito siya nun. So since dy tayo, dy, so ang limits natin is along the y-axis. That is from 0 or from C to D. From C to D. C to D. So that's how we get the area, okay, so bounded by the curve. Okay. So to better understand that, so let's have our first example. So we are to compute the area of the region enclosed by the graph of the given equations. So using one vertical strip, the second one is horizontal strip. In this case, so this particular example, so possible yung vertical strip and the horizontal strip. Okay, but then one will yield a longer solution as compared to the other. So that's why it is important to know the idea on when to use vertical strip and when to use the horizontal strip. Because if you do not know that one, so it will let you proceed, okay, so to a more complex solution. Okay, so we have three graphs, no? Or three functions. So the first one is y is equals to x. The second is y is equals to 2x. The last one is x is equals to 4y. So let me okay, so let me create so this is the y-axis and then this is the x-axis. So we have three functions. So the first one is y is equals to x. So how do we graph? Okay, so you have to recall. Okay? You have to recall yung mga graph ng mga functions natin. So for linear, madali. So pag quadratic siya, so we need to use some techniques. Okay? So for quadratic and so on. Okay. So for linear, actually pinakamadali would be the x and y intercept, no? Kaya lang, just so happen that the x and y intercept are both zeros. Okay? So kaya medyo mahirap siya. Pero when we say y is equals to x, so we can just simply substitute. You know? So when x is 0, y is 0. Ibig sabihin nun, when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 2. When x is 3, y is 3. When x is 4, y is 4. And so on. Right? So therefore, if I'm going to graph this one, so it would look like this. So this would be the graph. So the blue one, so I have to label it. Okay? Kasi gagamitin ko siya mamaya so that it won't be difficult for me. So that y is equals to x. Okay? So y is equals to x. I'm going to label this. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the next one, I have y is equals to 2x. So ganun din ito. The x-intercept and the y-intercept are both zeros. Pero, ayan. So pwede ka naman kamukha nung kanina. So pwede ka mag-substitute. So let's say when x is 0, so 0 times 2, it's still 0. So therefore, y is 0. Right? Tapos when x is 1, y is 2. When x is 1, y is 2. Actually, ang slope nito, that will be 2. No? So when x is 2, so 2 times 2, that is 4. When x is 3, 3 times 2, that is 6. X is 4, yan siya. So y is equals to x. Okay, so pag ginraph natin siya, so this is how it looks like. So this one is y is equals to 2x. So y is equals to 2x. Then the last one, we have x is equals to 4. So x is equals to 4. So when we say x is equals to 4, so that means regardless, whatever is the value of y, x is 4. So ibig sabihin nun, when y is 0, or when y is 0, x is 4. When y is 1, x is 4. When y is 2, x is 4, and so on. Actually, x equals to 4, that is a vertical. Okay, so that's the graph of this. So ang graph nito, this is the x is equals to 4. Pag y is equals to a constant, that is horizontal. It's vertical when x is equals to 4. Okay? So that's how we graph. So now we have everything. Okay? So we have the 3 lines. And then, ang pinapahanap, ano daw yung area bounded by those 3 lines? So the area bounded by those 3 lines would be this one. So ito, the area bounded by the blue line, the pink line, and the red line. So therefore, this would be the area that we will be getting. So this is the area. Sabi natin, ang una daw, we're going to use the vertical strip. I'm going to use the vertical strip. So for the vertical strip, okay, tignan mo yan, kahit saan mo ilagay yung vertical strip, so anong tinatouch niya? So kahit lagay mo pa siya dito, kahit lagay mo pa siya doon, ang tinatouch niya lagi would just be the red for the upper and the blue for the lower. So try to imagine, animate the strip. So moving left to the right. So moving to the left to the right, so the strip will touch. Okay, so for the upper, the red, then sa lower, the blue one. So kaya kung vertical strip yan, so I'll have dx there. So tapos, this one will become my y upper, and this one will become my y lower. So what is my y upper? So y upper is this. Y lower yung blue. Okay. So kaya titignan ko siya, ito yung blue. So ang area natin yan, so area will be, so from A to B, that is y upper minus y lower dx. So ang y upper natin, so sabi nga natin that is ito y upper. So that means that should be y in terms of x. So y upper is this one, so which is 2x. Minus y lower, so y lower is this one, so which is y is equals to x. So x lang. And multiply it with dx. So how do we decide for the boundary? So sa boundary, tignan mo yung area. Kaya lang, we're just looking at the x-axis. So yung pinakadulo ng area natin, nandito siya, di ba? Sa 0 hanggang saan? Hanggang ang dulo niya would be dun sa 4. So from 0 to 4. Kasi doon meron tayong area, di ba? So from 0 to 4. So therefore, this is 0 to 4. Our area then will be from 0 to 4. Then we 2x minus x, that is x dx. And then, so we integrate x dx, it is power rule, x squared all over 2. And the boundary is from 0 to 4. So in this case, so we just substitute the upper boundary first, so which is 4. So 4 squared all over 2 minus lower boundary is 0. So 0 squared all over 2. So 0 squared would be 0. So that's A will be 4 squared is 16 divides 2, that is 8. 8 square units. So that's how we get the area. So using the vertical strip. Question so far? Wala. Okay. So don't hesitate to clarify things if you can't understand it. The thing that you really need, sir. Sir, kahit di na po i-graph, mahanap naman po yan. No. You need to graph it. Kasi the formula that we will be using, magdidepende siya doon sa graph. Okay? Mahirap. Kung hindi ka mag-graph, manghuhula ka. Okay? So, manghuhula ka ng ano yung y upper mo, ano yung y lower mo. So, it would be difficult. Okay? So, you really need to graph. So, required na po ba gumamit ng graphing paper? You can use one. So, para mas simple, di ba? Para mas madaling mag-graph. What else? So this time, I'm going to answer this one using horizontal strip. Okay, kaya that's why it's very important to grasp the idea of the strip. Kasi pag horizontal strip ito, it's a different story. So what do I mean? So let me... Okay. So for the horizontal strip naman. Okay, so we still have the same graph, no? So we still have the same graph. The difference this time is I'm going to use a horizontal strip. So using a horizontal strip, so look at these. So at this point, okay, so let's say I'm going to use a horizontal strip. Okay lang naman to, di ba? Kasi the right side of the strip touches the pink graph. The one on the left, the right is pink. The one on the left, it's the red one. Okay? Sabi sabihin, that is okay. And the problem is, pag, let's say, minove ko yung strip dito. So the one on the right, it's blue. The one on the left, it's red. Okay? So ibig sabihin, nagbago na siya, di ba? So nagbago na siya. So from pink, so naging siyang blue, yung right. So in those case, kung gagamit tayo ng horizontal strip, okay, so in finding the area of this entire area, so I need to divide it into two. That is, yung una, I'm going to consider yung changes. So saan ba siya nag-change? Yung intersection nung pink at saka nung blue. Yeah? Kasi the intersection of the pink and the blue line, so that is where the changes or the change happens. So kaya nga, yung unang area natin, it's just this one. Okay? So that is the curve. Okay, so yung pink at saka yung red. Pink at saka yung red, yung sa left at saka right. Yeah? So that's our first area. The second area, that is from the red one, okay, or the blue to red. Itong blue na buong ito at saka yung red. So this is the second area. So kaya I'm going to represent this one as this is the first area, area 1, and then the second one is the area 2. So did you get that idea? Kasi for the area 1, the left function is the pink one. For the area 2, the left function is the blue one. So there is a change on the function. So there is a change on the function. So therefore, I need to consider that. Kaya in finding my area, so the total area, I need to find what's the area 1 plus what is the area 2. And pag-add ko lang sila. So kasi mangyayari niyan, so of course, this would be dy and this will be dy. Tapos magkakaroon tayo ng x to the right 1, so which is, ito, babaligtarin natin yan, di ba? Kulay pink. Okay? So kulay pink siya, so which is this, x equals to 4. Tapos yung to the right naman, so x left 1, ito naman siya. Kaya lang x ito, di ba? Eh, ang function natin is y in terms of x. So babaligtarin natin. So this one will become, the red one will become x is equals to y all over 2. So hindi natin pwede gamitin yung y is equals to 2x ulit. So it should be x is equals to y all over 2. So in this case naman, walang problema rin. No? Ito, baligtarin mo lang. X is equals to y. So for the second area naman, so our XR2, so XR2 natin is yung blue. So which is this. Tapos ang X left 2, it's still this one. So to get for the total area then, so yun yung C1 to D1, and then XR1 minus XL1 dx. And plus C2 to D2, XR2 minus XL2. And, sorry, dy. Okay. So we now consider the area 1. So our XR1 is it's the XR1, yung pink, which is X is equals to 4. Minus left. Ang left natin is ito, yung red, which is Y all over 2. Minus Y all over 2. So what will be our boundary? So tignan mo yung boundary ng area mo. So ito yun, di ba? So this is the boundary para dun sa purple area. So the purple area, so this is the purple area. So nag-start siya from 4 to 8. That is for area 1. So lalagay ko dito is from 4 to 8. dy. And plus, XR for area 2, ang XR2 natin is the blue one. Ang blue is X is equals to Y. So XR2 is Y minus, ang XL2 natin, ang left side is Y over 2 minus Y all over 2 dy. So ano naman yung red na area? So ang red na area, so ito naman siya nun. So for the boundary, that is from 0 to positive 4. So from 0 to positive 4. So madali yung pag-integrate. So yung pagsusupply ng mga parameters, so that's the one that we really need to understand. Okay? Kasi sometimes, kahit alam mong mag-integrate, okay, pag mali yung ginawa mong strip, pag mali yung boundary mo, so it follows. Okay? So now, so we evaluate it. No? So we find the integral of 4. Integral ng 4 is 4y. Minus integral ng y over 2. So di ba y is y squared all over 2 times 1/2. That makes it y squared all over 4. Then, so boundary is from 4 to 8. Kasi yung pangalawa naman, so ito naman, so integral ng y is y squared all over 2. And minus yung y over 2 is y squared all over 4. So boundary is from 0 to 4. Then we substitute our boundary. So I'll start with the upper boundary para dun sa 8. So 4 times 8 minus 8 squared all over 4. Upper boundary minus the lower boundary of 4. Minus, so pagdan lang natin, 4 times 4 minus 4 squared all over 4. So that is our area number 1. Tapos plus area number 2. Area number 2 natin will be, so y squared, so upper boundary is 4. So 4 squared all over 2 and minus 4 squared all over 4. That is upper boundary 4. Then the lower boundary 0. So minus 0 squared all over 2 minus 0 squared all over 4. So definitely, this is already 0. So the total area then, so I'll start with this. So 4 times 8, it's 32. 8 squared is 64, divides 4. Dito tayo. So 64 divides 4 minus 16. And minus, so dito naman, so 4 times 4, 16. Minus, so dito naman, so 4 squared, 16 divides 4, it's 4. Then plus this one, so 4 squared, 16 divides 2, it's 8. And then 4 squared is 16 minus, divides 4, 4. And minus 0 na yung sa dulo. So finally, we'll have, so 32 minus 16 is 16. Minus 16 minus 4 is 12. Then plus 8 minus 4, it's 4. So 16 minus 12 is 4. 4 plus 4, it's 8. 8 squared units. And as you can see, so whether we use a vertical strip or a horizontal strip, we arrive to the same answer. Pero syempre, in reality, we don't want to do the second solution. Look at the second solution, ang haba niya as compared to the first solution. So by understanding how the strips work, okay, so understanding how the strips work, you will get to the right path. Okay? So you don't need to proceed with complicated solutions.